just do a quick scan?
Get your grandma.
Just a quick scan.
Yay.
And then when you're ready, let me know.
Go ahead.
Okay, I want to thank you all for coming this afternoon to hear me speak. I appreciate it. I know there's much things you could be doing out there, including swimming in that beautiful pool or watching the Bucks attempt to do their first win. What I'd like to cover today is to give you a little bit of information on the longest war declared in the United States, the war on poverty. What I'm going to cover is the declaration of this war on poverty, the speech that started it all. Was it a well-intended plan? Number two, I'm going to cover the cost of the war, the number of agencies involved, in the beginning dollars to today's current present cost. Number three, we're going to give it a quick analysis of this war. Are we trending to win? Are we getting the results to win? Can we do better than just posture? Okay, so it all started January 8, 1964, when Lyndon Baines Johnson, in his State of the Union address, made this statement, and I will quote you, or quote him. "This administration today, here and now, declares unconditional war on the poverty in America." Now, his vision was to be rule in nature. It was to bring training and job skills to the neediest. He proposed and pushed many programs that currently still exist today. And although his original vision was commendable, it was vague, and too vague to bring to fruition to his dreams. In fact, his own party set the grounds for failure. A lot of folks don't know it was the Southern Democratic Party that did not like his social programs. So 49 years later, we're still fighting this war on poverty. What Lyndon Baines Johnson wanted was local control, yet there were several agencies already in existence. In fact, the poverty level was declining in 1964, went down to 19% from 22% from the 1950s. This data was covered by Jackie Hicken in the Deseret News, July 11, 2012, when she was reviewing the Cato Institute's War on Poverty that was issued of April of that year, and the data that I gave you when you first came out. One of the interesting stats on there is that back in 1965, the poverty level was down to 19%. Today it's over 15%, and the striking piece that really bothers me is single female head of household, it's over 22.5%. This in spite of spending $15 trillion on this war on poverty. In fact, according to the USDA, at the end of 2012, we will spend $668 billion on welfare to defeat this war, or this poverty. This means it's $20,610 for every person, $63,830 per family of three. Today, this war program consists of over 126 different agencies, 33 housing, 21 food, 8 health, 27 cash or general assistance. There are 7 different agencies, the cabinet agencies, all with their own czar. There are 6 independent agencies, all of them running at least one anti-poverty program. And this is according to James Petersburg of the American Enterprise Institute. Now, costs have grown from 1964 from $178 billion to last year over $668 billion, and there's no end in sight. Okay, now to quote Lyndon Baines again, the sad part is that the federal government is rewarding those way above the poverty level. And as he said, "I do not intend that the war against poverty become a series of uncoordinated and unrelated efforts, that it should perish for the lack of leadership and direction." I believe we have failed on that one. The costs are too great. It demands answers. Are we trending to win? Looking at the numbers without prejudice, it appears somewhat. We have many people today, including some of you, who are perhaps better off than you would have been without these programs. But just who are we helping and why? If we are to win this war, we must have an end goal in sight. I believe that Lyndon Baines Johnson did have the moral issue right. I believe he forgot who he was to leave his legacy to, however. Excuse me. We have programs in place today that on the surface appear to benefit folks, but they actually penalize the very people that they're intended to help. You ask any young woman today who has a family trying to go to school or trying to get a training to get back on her feet and earn money for her and her family, and you'll notice a staggering point is that the Daycare, for instance, drops off dramatically just when she needs that help the most. So, is there an answer to the problems that the war on poverty is supposed to answer? I believe there is, but we need to look to our founding fathers. Did they believe that the federal government should be the one that would have the power to feed its people? They did not trust men to have such power, so the answer clearly should be no. Okay, the other question I want you to ask yourself is, what is really happening? If we are to gain ground on this war on poverty, perhaps we need to stop the name calling and take a look at what we're really doing and what effects we are getting. There's an old saying, follow the money, for who stands to gain from this distraction? I believe, like Lyndon Baines Johnson, that the government is too big and should not be in charge. So if you do the research on LBJ, you will find that he wanted the federal government to fund local charities and local programs. To have oversight, yes. To have control, no. Another way to put that is to trust but verify. So I believe that in order to win this war, we need to start taking a serious look at how we're doing what we're doing today. Why not use today's technology to solve today's problems? Why do we need so many agencies to do the same job? Okay? We can, we should, and we must. And I want to send you home with this thought, and I'll quote LBJ. And by the way, for full disclosure, I am an independent registered Republican, but I do believe in what Lyndon Baines Johnson has said here. We have learned anew that nothing is so enduring as faith, and nothing is so degrading as hate. It is time to return to the promise of this great land, that people are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. No guarantees, folks. Pursuit. So I want to thank you for your time this afternoon. Okay, keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. Oh, you got it going? Okay. All right. I thank you again for your time. I know you guys get out here just to hear me.
Are we supposed to put down outstanding?
If you feel it's outstanding, you feel outstanding.
They don't know you, so they can put it.
For the record, this is my mother. She has a very prejudiced attitude. Nothing I do can work. Or my wife, who is my greatest critic, greatest support. So actually, please, do
We're the one
critique
that
me.
keeps you going, right, Tammy?
Very true. If you have any questions, I would be honored to answer them. Like I said, this is a deep topic, and so, you know, it's kind of hard to cover it in like 5 or 7 minutes.
Well, I'll ask a question.
Sure.
On the fact that this was set up to help people, why do they let so many of them live off of it? Why aren't there projects in place that here you are, this is what you get now, here you have to go to work, but right here we'll help you till you get to here? They don't seem to do that. You've got what they call welfare moms that have 4 or 5 kids just so they can stay on the program.
That's a very good question. And
You're supposed to
quite
raise-
frankly, that's the philosophical debate that's been racing for probably since the war started. What's interesting is, again, I mentioned early in the speech that if people would stop the name calling and go back and take a look, it was the Democratic
supposed to
Party
check these
that
out.
actually did not want many of his programs to get into place.
Check these out.
For 2 reasons. One, if you remember back in the time, there was a whole lot of division between color and race and religion. The other thing is that there were existing programs, and many of those people had their jobs threatened. So if you bring that forward to today, without getting emotional on either party, you tend to look and see, why are there so many agencies up there? When you look at that fact, the $60,000 per family of 3, ask you folks, where is it? Okay? Well, when you consider that czars generally don't work for less than $150,000, and each one of them has to have 2 secretary administrators, and each one of them probably has 3 or 4, and you go on and you go on and you go on, you begin to realize, like I did when I got involved in the federal student loan business for consolidation, it's a huge business, and people are making a lot of money. So you're going to have that kind of pushback. You also have people who believe that they know better than your local folks. Okay? So there's that big argument back and forth. Just 2 weeks ago, I happened to be listening to a bishop of the Methodist conference over at our church, and he mentioned the program that they started about 5, 6 years ago, maybe a little longer, down in the Miami-Dade area. And when he was approached, he said, we got a lot of homeless families here, you know, due to the economy, due to drugs, due to whatever. He said, great idea, you run it. By the way, the church isn't gonna give you anything. Kind of hurt, but you know what? Their budget today is almost $1 million. Their program takes care of, on an average of between 20 and 30 families. But here's the difference, and this is what I was mentioning. We have programs that give money but no accountability. To join their program, you have to agree to 6 things. One is one person in that family must work. They don't care what it is, but must work, and turn the check over to the foundation.